Hi guys, it's Mrs. C here, and I wanted to do a quick video on some fun ways to do timeline just to make it a little more interesting, especially for those kids who have been in CC for a while. They really have the timeline down. They kind of overdoing it, but you got to do it. So these hopefully will just be some games that you can get through the timeline in the correct amount of time, but will make it a little more fun for them. So the first one that I get asked about all the time is the bomb game. And I did not come up with this. I kind of made it my own. And so I'm gonna explain how I play it, but there were other people who invented this. And this is just what I ended up doing. So I use the timeline cards. If you don't have these as a tutor, you're not required to, but they are an excellent resource. And every year I just find that I use them more or find a new use for them in my home, school, and with my own kids and in class, especially because I had the masters last year. So it was really fun to bring in the timeline cards that were corresponding with the history sentence we were learning that week, just to kind of help them plug where those history things were happening into our timeline as a whole. So anyway, for the bomb game, you're gonna have your 7 timeline cards, and basically you just lay them out on the table in order. So you would have them all flipped over on the picture side, and then you just take turns going around the room and letting a student select a card. It doesn't matter what they pick. So let's say for this set of cards, I'm gonna try to hold them out for you. This student selected this card right here, which is the Punic Wars, okay? So you would start from the beginning of your timeline for that week. So we'd start singing through. So India's Mauryan Empire, mine's a mess in America, Punic Wars. Okay, so India's Mauryan Empire in the right spot? Yes, okay, sorry. Confused myself there for a second. So we go to Punic Wars, and then I would take Punic Wars, because that's the one I picked, and I would turn it over, and there's nothing on the back, so congratulations, you did not hit a bomb, you're still safe. So that card stays flipped over, and then it's the next student's turn. So let's say the next student, they are trying to be super clever, and they're like, I'm gonna pick one that's further away, and they pick Roman dictator Julius Caesar. So we go back to the beginning, and we sing or say through the timeline cards, all, again, including the Punic Wars, all the way up to Roman dictator Julius Caesar. We flip that one over, and up, there's a sticker on the back. You can use stickers. I've used painter's tape. I've used a dry erase marker. Just mark 3 of them on the back, okay? So there was a bomb. Uh-oh, there's 2 bombs left. You hit a bomb. Hopefully you don't hit all the bombs, okay? So we have 2 cards over now. The next student is gonna pick, and they're gonna go through, and again, they always try to be really clever. They're like, she's not gonna have 2 right next to each other, so I'm gonna pick Rome conquers Greece, okay? So starting from the beginning, we sing through from India's Mauryan Empire all the way to Rome conquers Greece, and haha, you thought you were smarter than me, but you weren't. There's a sticker on the back of this one, so you've hit another bomb. Oh no, you only have 1 bomb left. I sure hope you don't hit the last bomb. So next student picks, they pick our last one here, John the Baptist, turn it over. There wasn't one. Oh, sorry. Sing all the way through to John the Baptist, turn it over. There wasn't a bomb on the back. You're still safe, okay? So you would continue on until they've done all the cards or they found all the bombs. My other bomb was, I don't know, mine's Miss America here. Let's say that they hit all 3 bombs. You have options. One, you can be like, oh, shoot, you hit all the bombs. Oh no, too bad. Now you have to do 10 jumping jacks. I don't know. You can give them a punishment if you want, or you can give them a reward if you don't hit all the bombs. Or it can just be like, oh man, we hit all the bombs. Shoot, okay, let's move on to science. It really doesn't matter. There doesn't have to be anything specific, but the key is that you want to move through quickly. Every time they select a card, you sing all the way up into that card. You're not gonna get the entire timeline in 7 times, but again, generally you're doing this with a group that has done the timeline multiple times, so they've heard it, not to take away from trying to get our 7 times in, but you're gonna say them through already. You'll end up saying them really close to through multiple times. So this is a really fun game to play. It goes quickly. It doesn't take a lot of time. Don't let them like really hem and haw over what card they want to pick. Like I will literally be like 3, 2, 1, pick a card and make them pick. So that is the bomb game. That's a really quick way of how to play it. The only prep you need to do, and you can do it in the 2 minutes before you do it if you need to, is just to mark the back of 3 cards so you know that those are the bombs. Again, you can use stickers. If you use stickers, just note that you should take them off, like don't leave them on for weeks. Not that I've ever done that, because they do get more difficult to get off. Dry erase markers work totally fine. They can get smudged a little bit more easily, but that's not really a big deal because you're just using it for this one thing. Or you could use like a piece of painter's tape or something. You could even do like a Post-it note on the back of them. So that is the bomb game. For another one for timeline, this is for the older kids. You could use it for the younger kids too. I like to use the cards again for this. So you have the cards, you mix them all up, hand them to your students, and then you give them these creepy little tiny hands. And they have to, only using the tiny hands, get the timeline cards into order. Again, I had the masters last year and I was just trying to make it more fun for them. And I thought these were hilarious, and they are hilarious. It's fun to do it in the winter when they have like longer sleeves on, because they can pull their sleeves down and just actually make it look like they have these little tiny hands. And then they just have to try to get the timeline cards in order. They're kind of hard to like pick up, so you kind of slide them around a little bit with these, and they try to get the timeline cards in order. I think if I had the ability, I would borrow a set of timeline cards from someone, and I would have them race to try to get them in order with the timeline or with the tiny hands. I didn't have an extra set last year, so we just kind of I just timed them on my phone to see how fast they could do it. So that is something that you have to buy that is extra, so no pressure to do that. But if you also are just like me and think it's funny to have these around to use for other random things, they may be a good investment. The next one, also low to no prep and uses the timeline cards. I would take these and use painter's tape and tape them on their back. And I would just go around the room, and then they had to figure out how to get themselves in order. So they can obviously see what's on everybody else's back, and then they can't see what's on their back. So they have to kind of like look at everybody, and everybody's looking at each other, and then they have to figure out how to get themselves in order. If you have more than 7 students, if you have 8 students, you might put them on 7 of the students' back, and then that 8th student is the one that has to try to arrange them and get them in order. Or maybe they just are the person that checks them at the end or something like that. Or maybe they are the ones who gets to tape it to the back of them. You could do it that way too, to include everybody. Then you could also do this a similar way where for a week, maybe early in the year when you have a little more time because you've got not as much to review, or if you're on a week where you have Latin, that is a review week of Latin, where it's not going to quite take the whole time to do it, you could kind of play it like heads up a little bit, where they have to figure out what card they are. So they can ask a question like, do I come before John the Baptist? And somebody would say, nope, sorry, you don't. Or yes, you do. So that could give them a clue that you could play that. I would probably do that more for review actually, but you could do it if you have a little more time during your timeline. And then let's see. Oh, I did this with my students last year, even though they're older, and I did it a lot for the younger ones, but hiding them around the room, and they have to find all of them. So I would just hide them in places like behind the board, under chairs, under the tables, stuck in under the trash can. I would stick it behind the door. Like I would just hide them all different places, and they would have to find them. And while they're finding them, I was singing the section of timeline song that we were working on. So they would, the goal was to try to find it before I could sing through that whole section, but it goes pretty fast, and I hit them pretty hard sometimes. So I would usually get through it a few times. Once they got a card, they were supposed to sit down with their card so that everybody had a chance to find one. And once everybody got seated, I would go through the timeline, and as I reached their card, they would hand me their card. So we had all the cards back in order. That one's great to do with little kids as well, but my older kids liked it too. And then just mixing these up and having them put them in order. Like you don't even have to have the tiny hands or anything like that. Just mix them up, have them put in order, see how fast they can do it. Don't let them cheat and turn the cards over, because there's numbers on the back of them. So some of the kids will not even look at what the cards are, and they just look at the numbers. So make them stay face up like this to put them in order. And then just to challenge the older kids a little bit more, I like to try to get them to tell me what comes before the section of timeline we're working on. It's super easy, I feel like, to go like give you a starting point and go after it, but to try to remember what comes right before it. I would take some time and ask them, do you remember what comes before India's Mauryan Empire? And a lot of times they have to sing almost through the whole song, or they have to find a touch point in there to remember what comes before, which is fine. It's just a good way to kind of make their brains go like, oh, what was right before this? So that is not necessarily a game. It's just kind of a fun thing to get their brains going on timeline. And then last year, because I had students that were all moving into Challenge A this year, they were all the 12-year-olds. They had been in it multiple years. I did take a little more time during timeline to actually just go through and make them kind of think about what they're saying, because a lot of times, as you know, we say things like some guy in Africa is what a lot of kids think it is, which is not. So what is Songhai in Africa? But I would ask them, and we would try to make connections to what we were doing in our history sentences, or, oh, look, we're talking about the Punic Wars, and that happened in Rome and Carthage. Where are Rome and Carthage? We just learned those in geography. So that is not something, again, that I would do with the little ones, that we just need them to get the timeline down. When you have the older kids, if you have a few extra moments and you want to go through and just make those connections a little bit for them, that's a fun way to do it. So that is my few quick tips on doing timeline. Again, the bomb game is probably my favorite thing to do. We probably almost did that every other week because it's just fun and easy. And every time is different. They just never know where I've put the bombs. So but all the other ones are a fun way to do it too. And if you have space to move around your classroom, musical chairs is always one that they love to play. We just didn't have a lot of space for it last year. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I will try to do a few more videos on specific subjects and ideas for presenting those, because I know sometimes it's like I'm good on everything else. I'm so overdoing whatever the subject is. So I'll try to do a few more of those, and I will see you guys back soon. Thanks, bye.